Chairman, let me commend you for the result of the employee survey coming up. It almost had to come up. We were at rock bottom. That's where you got here before we got here. So any improvement's an improvement.
We're still near rock bottom.
That's good. And we didn't come up a whole lot, but any movement is positive.
Thank you.
As long as it's going up. But let me share with you a couple of concerns that I learned yesterday when I visited the English language service for Africa and met with 20 plus some odd wonderful people. The surveys, as I understand it, and if I've misstated anything, tell me that I have, but I don't. But contract employees are not included in the survey. And contract employees at VOA, according to Jack Welch, represent 45% of all employees. So at VOA. So if 45% of the employees are not surveyed, that raises the question as to how valid the 67% response of the 55% who responded is. And I don't hold, not blaming you or anybody else for that. But what I am saying is we need to figure out a way to survey contract employees as well as federal employees. There's a legal distinction, but in terms of the morale and in terms of the men and women who produce the product, be it language service for Africa or Creole or Croatian or whatever, figure out a way to include them, because they're generally an unhappy group of people because they don't get the pay raises, they are concerned. Secondly, I want to, because I promised her, that Fritzie Depew, an older lady, but not as old as I am, raised the question that federal employees at VOA get to have flu shots here in the building, but contract employees don't because they're not federal employees. And yet she points out a contract employee who doesn't get her flu shot is just as capable of getting the flu and passing it on to someone else as anyone else is. And couldn't there be some way, and this seems to be a minor thing, but it's often symbolic of how people feel, I hope IBB can work on that to resolve it so anybody in the building, if they want a flu shot, can get it, and there wouldn't be an artificial distinction between federal employees and contract employees. And then finally, I went over and visited under your offices the training center, which you're to be commended for the good work that David Milligan, who's a former city council member in College Park, Maryland, runs. And they conduct over 20 courses ranging from broadcast journalism to leadership to effective writing scripts and various other things. And this is an area where I think we could break down some barriers regardless of whether consolidation occurs or doesn't occur. But these courses are not available to the three entities. They're only available to the federal employees here in the building. They said they did work it out to where contract employees can participate in the training, but RFE, RFA, and MVN employees do their training elsewhere. It seems to me if we have empty seats in the classroom, if there were an employee at RFE or RFA, that they ought to be able to attend and participate if they wanted to. And I just raised that to your attention, and I'm sure you're working on it, but I told these good folks I would bring it to your attention in a public setting so they would know, if they're watching or their friends are, that at least it was put before us. And the easiest one to solve, it seemed to me, would be the flu shot issue.